In this tutorial we're going to take a look at the accounting modes available inside RentHQ. RentHQ has two accounting modes. We've got the default accounting mode, which is a simple cash accounting mode, and we've got a more comprehensive full accounting mode available. So if we go to the chart of accounts, this is where we've got all our income and expense accounts set up. If I go to add a new one, by default I only get two options, either an income group or an expense group. This is fairly simple to understand. Income groups have money going into the bank account, and expense group is money going out of the bank account. And this is the default option inside RentHQ. The full accounting option, you get the income, the expense, the assets, the liabilities, and the equity accounts. So you get 5 groups to choose from. This is more powerful, and it gives you a better balance sheet report, and also can assist in doing your end of year tax returns. Full accounting mode is intended for people who are accountants or who understand accounting principles, or they have an accountant who can assist them to set up their accounts correctly. So if you don't understand accounting principles, or you don't have someone to assist you to set up your accounts correctly, then you're best just to stick with the default income and expense options. Now, assuming you do want to use full accounting mode, you'll need to enter an unlock code down here. But once you enter this unlock code, you can't go backwards again, so it's a one-way street. Once you go to full accounting mode, you can't go backwards to simple accounting mode again. Now I'm going to give you the unlock code during this tutorial. The unlock code is a 5-digit code, and I'm going to give you the first of those 5 digits now. So you might want to write this down or type it somewhere. The first digit of the 5-digit unlock code is the number 7. And I'll give you the remaining digits throughout this tutorial. So the rest of this tutorial we're going to take a look at full accounting mode, and here's one I've prepared earlier. So if I go to chart of accounts here, I've got my income and expenses, but I've also set up a few asset, liability and equity accounts as well. You'll notice I've got 2 bank accounts down here. To create the bank accounts, you would still use the bank accounts menu option up here. But once they're created, they will also appear in this list as well, just for completeness, because they are actually assets. Now, to use these accounts, if we go to the cash book screen and we add a transaction, we drop down this list here. We've got the green pluses, which are our incomes, the red minuses, which are our expenses, and down the bottom we have the A for assets, L for liabilities, and E for equity accounts. So if I choose one of my asset accounts, I get an option to saying it's either a purchase or it's a sale. So if I say it's a purchase, and let's say it's 100, and I save this transaction, because it's a purchase, it comes through as a minus 100. If I was to edit this transaction and change it to a sale, it's now a plus 100. And the same thing applies to liabilities. I get to say whether I'm acquiring a new loan or whether I am repaying it. And also with equity accounts, I specify whether I'm introducing funds into the business or taking funds out of the business. I'll give you your second unlock code now. The second digit of the unlock code is the number 9. If we go back to our chart of accounts again, when we set up our asset groups, we get to specify whether this is a current asset or a non-current asset. And the same thing applies to our liabilities. When I set up my liabilities, I can specify whether it's a current liability or a non-current liability. The third digit of the unlock code is the number 2. Now there's 3 areas in particular that RentHQ handles specially, so we're going to talk about those 3 areas next. And the first of these is GST. In some countries it might be called VAT. But if we're registered for GST, or we're recording GST amounts on our transactions, then we should create a GST suspense account, which is a liability. I'm just going to call it GST. And I tick this box down here to say that this is my GST suspense account. Now when I create this, any transaction that I do through the cash book that has a GST portion, the GST portion will automatically get added into this suspense account. And if I was to pay my GST or to get a GST refund, I would use the same liability account again, otherwise my suspense account would just keep on growing. The second area of special interest is mortgages. So if we go to this menu option here, mortgages, this is where we can set up mortgages. So if we want to record mortgage details, go back to our cash book screen, chart of accounts. I would set up one liability account for mortgage, and I would tick this checkbox here to say this is regarding mortgage principal, acquiring or repaying mortgages. And when I choose this in the cash book screen, it would then ask me to select which mortgage this transaction relates to. Now this applies to the principal part of the mortgage. The interest part would be created as an expense. And the third area of interest is assets or fixed assets. If I go to the property details screen, we've got a fixed assets tab over here. This is where I enter the details about the purchase price of the property, the date it was purchased, any depreciation that I might be allowed to claim, and also any fittings or chattels in the property. So I've got a fitting here called carpet. So again, we enter the purchase date, purchase price, and any depreciation we might be claiming on this item. And this information here automatically gets added to our balance sheet report. Now because of that, over on our chart of accounts, we'd create an asset group called properties, but we'd tick this box here which says that these transactions are used for buying or selling properties or fittings. Basically what this says is any transaction related to this group should not be put on the balance sheet. Instead, the balance sheet will get its information from the property details screen instead. I'll give you your fourth unlock code now. The fourth unlock code is number 4. Once you enable full accounting, if we go to the report screen, the balance sheet report has been enhanced, and we've added 2 new reports. One is the chart of accounts report, and the other is the accounting trial balance report. And before I finish up, I'll give you the last of your 5 digits for the unlock code. The last digit of the unlock code is number 1.